Hey everybody, I'm John Granado. That's Lance Zerline. You can hear us mornings on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Hit subscribe if you haven't yet so you get all our content right here at SportsMap HOU. Hey Lance, last week on the Killer Bees, Jeremy Branham mapped out a path for the Texans to win 9 games this upcoming season. He admitted he was wearing his homer cap. How far-fetched is a Texans 9-win season?
I think you can get there with optimism. You can see it on the roster.
Optimism.
Well, because it's not the hardest schedule. It's one of the softer schedules on paper that I've seen in a long time for the Texans. But, you know, the reality of winning that many games, it's really easy to look at futures, win numbers and be optimistic. But then once you get in the middle of it, you realize it's hard to win an NFL game, and you're the team that everyone's circling on their schedule as a very winnable game, or one that they should win. And so I think that 9 would take, number one, it would take a terrific year from the quarterback position, whoever that ends up being. It starts right there. And number two, I think you'd have to find a playmaker this year, and then you'd have to really be substantially improved on defense. I'm talking like top 12 on defense, total defense. And that's a team that's been in the bottom 3 of defense for the last couple of years. So I think it would take a really great effort defensively and really good quarterback play this year.
There are only 2 teams that have an easier schedule. And the only reason that they have an easier schedule than the Texans is because they're playing the Texans.
Right.
So that's the only reason. Now, you can't.
If the Texans could play an inter squad, their schedule would get softer too.
Much easier. Maybe they'd be the easiest schedule. Now, okay, you can't ask for an easier schedule, though. I mean, honestly, you're playing the NFC South, which it doesn't get any better. And I guess the AFC North as opposed to the AFC West, or I guess that's easier than the East, obviously. So you cannot have it any easier than the Texans do this season. And yet I'm hesitant to say they made improvements. They really have. If Derek Stingley's on the field, if Robert Woods actually has a bit of a comeback season, if Nico Collins takes a step, Dameon Pierce. I mean, you got a rookie quarterback though. How many rookie quarterbacks have 9-win seasons?
Yeah, I mean it just doesn't happen. You're stacking a lot of, like Ben Roethlisberger. But not a lot was asked of him, and that's what I mean. You have to have a very good defense to do something like that.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson had a good rookie season, but you got to have a very, very good defense typically is where that starts.
And I'm assuming, listen, the Panthers have come out. The Texans are going to hide their hand, obviously. But the Panthers have come out and said that Andy Dalton is their starter right now. I mean, if it's Case Keenum, is there a better chance that they win more games than if it's C.J. Stroud?
I think in the short term, yeah. Because C.J. Stroud going through tough times. I think one of the things is your schedule, you have some soft spots headed all the way through your first 8 games, the first half of the season. You got some soft spots in there. And if winning is important to you, you might want to go with the guy who gives you the best chance. And that might be Case Keenum, believe it or not. Now, it might be C.J. Stroud. I'm certainly the only thing I'm working off of is being a rookie quarterback. I think C.J. Stroud has more talent than Case Keenum. Case sees the field better and sees the game better just because he's a veteran and CJ's a rookie. It has less to do with CJ Stroud, the person, and just the fact that he's never played in an NFL game. And there's a veteran who has had some wins in his career. But I think C.J. Stroud in this offense, we talked about, John, how this offense is great for quarterbacks, at least the one that Kyle Shanahan has where he's also the play caller. We'll see how it does for C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans as it pertains to wins in a rookie season. But 9's a lot to ask. I think a really good season. If you get to 8 wins, I think you had a great season.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is that? Listen, progress to me would be a 6-win season. Mm-hmm. You've made progress.
Well, you'll see it on the field. You'll know if you made progress.
I will say this: it's not 6 wins is not progress if Case Keenum is the quarterback. But if C.J. Stroud is the quarterback, I think 6 wins is progress.
Because you could see build on that.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's got playing time now. You think he's going to be better the following season with that experience that he picked up. He's going to take his lumps, obviously, but if he's overwhelmed, you got to get him out of there, and you got to. Listen, I'm not even sure that he starts the beginning of the season. I think they might go with Case Keenum, and if they're playing pretty well, let that kid sit, let Stroud sit and learn and build it that way. What are your reactions? Chris Sims and Merrill Hodge both say that Stroud is rated ahead of Young. What's your you?
Well,
have
I mean,
Young.
I looked at them all, and I think it's Young over Stroud.
You
I just
have
think,
Young
Yeah,
over.
I mean, I think he's more. Bryce Young's more consistent. The only check mark I give Stroud is he's a little more accurate with ball placement, and he's bigger. So other than that, I think that Bryce Young, for me, would be the guy that I think has a better chance of winning early on. He's seen pro-style offenses too. He's been with pro-style play calls with Bill O'Brien. I think there's more to overcome in the short term for C.J. Stroud in the first half of the season than there will be for Bryce Young relative to what you're dealing with in terms of integrating into the position on the pro level. But I also think that C.J. Stroud actually has some beneficial things around him. I think the offensive line is better. The running game, to me, is maybe a little more consistent now that McCaffrey's gone and Dameon Pierce looked really good. You got Devin Singletary who can play on all three downs. I actually think, you got to remember the Carolina Panthers also traded Samuel. They traded their top, or DJ, not Samuel, but
Moore.
DJ Moore. They traded their top wide receiver as well, which is going to make things tougher for Bryce Young. So I think Bryce Young's more ready for something like that. I think C.J. Stroud actually might have some better pieces around him, believe it or not.
Yeah. The wide receiver is probably about even. Miles Sanders is their new running back. We'll see.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is similar. I think they're working in. It's not a vacuum, but it's pretty close for what both guys have to work with. And we'll find out whether or not either of them are on the field. If you're going to go with Andy Dalton in Carolina to start the season, if he's going to be your starter, I think you're going to have a revolt in Carolina. They ain't worried about selling tickets, I can tell you that. And I think the Texans are worried about selling tickets. C.J. Stroud is probably going to be on the field to start the season.